In a bid to curb the porpoising issue faced by a number of teams in the early part of the season under the new technical regulations, the FIA announced ahead of the French Grand Prix it will be tweaking the rules for the next year on the safety grounds. This included raising the floor edges by 25mm and introducing more stringent floor checks, but it was met with opposition from a number of teams who may seek to challenge the FIA. Throughout the year, Red Bull has been vocal in its opposition to any rule changes, arguing that teams that have not encountered porpoising should not pay the price for those who have. When asking how he thought the saga would be resolved after Sunday's French Grand Prix, Horner urged F1's rulemakers to follow the normal procedure. "Again, I don't see any issues here in France. I think the last 3 or 4 races, you really didn't see any issues. So I think that there just needs to be a common sense solution, not rewriting the rulebook for next year at a point of the year with budget caps where they are, which is just too late. I think it's eventually an even bigger issue for some of the smaller teams that quite simply would not have resource to be able to react. I think whatever measure is taken, it just needs to be sensible." Earlier in the race weekend, Horner claimed to be lobbying for the floor changes was all done to help a specific team, referring to Mercedes, which has struggled more than most with bouncing on its car. Mercedes has denied this, saying the floor tweaks are not guaranteed to improve its form. According to the FIA's technical regulations, safety changes can be made without the support of teams without notice or delay, but a number of teams are skeptical that it is a genuine safety issue. "I'd actually dispute it's a safety issue," Horner said on Sunday. "It's down to a team how it chooses to operate its car. You can remove the porpoising very easily, but that's at the sacrifice of performance. Therefore, it's not the duty of the FIA to ensure that a team is competitive. Otherwise, we'd have had an engine balance of performance over the last 10 years. Horner admitted that part of the problem was that there was no definition of what constituted a safety issue under FIA regulations, and that safety was a very easy card to stand behind, because theoretically it's not then the subject to a commission or a World Council vote. I think something can be done, but I think that it just needs to be sensible. The numbers that have been discussed are just way too extreme compared to the reality of what probably could be done." He added that F1 needed to be careful not to overreact based on a few samples at a few one-off circuits, and that he was confident teams would converge in managing the issue over the winter even if the proposed changes were not implemented. Although the teams in the row are divided, all have stressed the importance of a quick resolution as they begin to consider the impact of any rule changes on their 2023 cars. As things stand today, Ferrari and Red Bull are locked in a fierce battle both on and off the track as they seek to drive forward upgrades that will help their Formula One championship hopes. After realizing how much extra performance underfloor aerodynamics can produce, both teams decided to make changes in this area of the car for the French Grand Prix, and it appears that an intriguing detailed development battleground is forming between them in terms of maximizing how airflow is directed towards the floor by fences. Red Bull, which had been using the twin outer fence arrangement since the beginning of the season, decided to discontinue it as part of its most recent update. Instead, the innermost of those 2 fences was moved inward. Placing the third fence closer to the 2 inboard of it not only affects the behavior of the airflow as it enters the tunnel, but it will also likely result in its third fence stretching back beneath the floor like its siblings on board. It had previously stopped short in order to help power up the vortex structure created by the outermost fence. Because of the conflict between the 2 users of the third fence, it is no longer as tall as it once was, instead sitting within the bounds of the leading edge's floor line rather than above it, in order to work in conjunction with the outermost fence. Red Bull also made a subtle change at the back of the car, adding an extra vane within the confines of the rear brake's inlet scoop. The changes will be minor, but they will allow for a better path for the airflow to take into the pipework that feeds the caliper. Meanwhile, Ferrari has focused on the tunnel entrance for the underfloor, making visible changes to the height of the floor's leading edge and the fences. The Scuderia has decided to create a 2-tier arrangement, with the inner portion of the leading edge of the floor remaining closer to the upper limit imposed by the regulations, while the outer section has been flattened out. Because the tunnel entrance in the outer section has been lowered, the upper surface of the floor has been divided into two sections, with the lower section more or less aligned with the edge of the sideboard and the inner portion feeding into the undercut of the sideboard. The outer fence has also been changed, and it's now taller and has been extended forward. The extent of the floor's redesign extends into the underfloor, as seen when Charles Leclerc's car was hoisted away from the track. The boat-shaped bodywork that bridges the gap between the step and reference planes is the most noticeable change here. Ferrari appears to have been schooled by Red Bull here, as it has narrowed the entire section, but especially near the front, in an attempt to improve the relationship with the fences that meander out towards the floor's edge. Max Verstappen won the French Grand Prix after title rival Charles Leclerc spun out of the lead, and the Dutchman now leads the championship standings by 63 points. Verstappen, however, expects Ferrari to be very strong at the Hungarian Grand Prix, with a Hungaroring circuit slow corners likely to suit the handling characteristics and one-lap pace of the F175. Verstappen acknowledged his commanding position at the top of the Drivers' Championship after the French Grand Prix, but cautioned that there was still much work to be done to consolidate his points lead. It's a great lead, but a lot of things can change. I just want to stay focused. We need a lot more good results. We still need more one-lap pace, and I think the next race is going to be a bit more of a struggle for us, where I think Ferrari is going to be really quick. But we'll see. Again, it's all about scoring points every single race, even when it's not your day. Verstappen has won 7 Grand Prix to Leclerc's 3 after 12 rounds of the 2022 F1 season, but Ferrari has won 2 of the last 3 races and could have won 3 in a row if Leclerc hadn't spun out in France. In the Constructors' standings, Red Bull have 396 points, an 82-point lead over Ferrari. Nonetheless, the fact remains that Ferrari has struggled with reliability all season. Indeed, former F1 world champion Nico Rosberg has questioned whether Ferrari can overcome the reliability issues that have plagued them thus far in the 2022 season. Both Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz have had 2 mechanical retirements this season after 12 races, with Leclerc suffering costly component failures while leading races in Spain and Azerbaijan. Sainz's most recent DNF was a spectacular engine failure at the Austrian Grand Prix, which forced him to start 19th at the French Grand Prix after exceeding his allowed component usage. Ferrari customer teams Haas and Alfa Romeo have also experienced reliability issues with their power units, prompting Rosberg to question whether Ferrari could resolve these issues quickly. I'm sure they've learned from what happened in Austria, but with an engine, it's often not so easy to bring a quick fix, and I've heard that within Ferrari it's not easy to bring in this quick fix. So they are trying to manage the situation carefully, but there are some headaches remaining there. As we've seen for the whole year, this reliability concern has been the biggest problem for their championship fight. It remains to be seen if they manage to get it under control or not. Thank you for your time. Be sure to like, subscribe and click the bell icon to get notified of future uploads. And let us know in the comments what you think. Is Red Bull in trouble, or will Ferrari's reliability issues be the deciding factor in the championship battle?